what would be 3 things that you would share with people when it comes to um, dealing with some of the main challenges that you faced?
Yeah. So I would say number one is that you really have to accept yourself where you're at. Because I think when you have these sorts of challenges, I think you carry a lot of shame with it because those labels or limitations that you have been faced with have never been from a positive place. So for me, that's why it was a non-topic of discussion in my life, because it was anytime I had to talk about having a disability, it was because I was fighting somebody to give me an accommodation at school or in a doctor's office when the doctors would, in earshot of me, tell my parents all the things I wasn't going to be able to do. So it never was a positive narrative. And until I was able to sit with myself and shift that narrative for me and nobody else, I wasn't able to really step into my power. So I think that is one thing is you need to view yourself the way you want the rest of the world to view you before you can step into that position.
And when you're changing that narrative, you're basically changing an identity of how you have
Yes.
seen yourself.
Yes.
So how have you shifted that identity?
So a lot of it was spiritual work. So a lot of it was tapping into my intuitive gifts that I had always had, which were strengthened in the passing of my father because I was started to be able to hear him. I started to be able to get very clear guidance. And I think that's in answering this question that leads me to sort of tip number two
Huh.
is that when there is darkness, there always is light. So when you are handed these challenges, you're not meant to go through them alone. There are other things, other gifts that are granted to you to help navigate those challenges and also allow you to show up in the world to share your story so you can help other people. But I think that we become so disconnected with all of the other parts of it that we end up residing in the victim, the place of a victim, like hood, right? Like life is happening to me. Um, and so changing the narrative was being totally honest with myself about all of the horrible things that I was saying to myself on a daily basis. It was getting confrontational with my inner bully. It was acknowledging those thoughts, getting them out of my body, working with a mentor, surrounding myself with people who could help me heal on this journey. Because when you admit to yourself all of these things that are happening in your head, this narrative, and you're able to say them out loud, you take away their power. And the more and more you're able to face them, then the love for yourself becomes louder than that inner bully.
Very powerful, because I know that there's times where that inner critic can be quite loud and
Yes.
it can take you off your game.
Mm-hmm. And it's meant to, right? It's meant to
Yeah.
take you off your game. Like, and I think that that's something that a lot of people forget is we all have that inner critic, and that inner critic, has its purpose, right? So it's to keep us safe. It's to keep us in a place of safety and a position that we have perceived as safe, right? So it's not wanting to step outside of your comfort zone and keeping you where you are so that because you have a fear of rejection, you have a fear of being abandoned. So that inner critic comes down to those inner child issues, and becoming familiar with that narrative is how you can start to chip away at it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that you addressed that. Like, I think there's so many times when we hear it and we're like, well, maybe they're right, and it's when you speak it out loud, those nasty things that we
Yeah.
say that it discharges, it takes the energy away from it because you're like, whoa, I wouldn't say that to my friend. So why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your friends would never say it to you, and if they would, you need new friends, right?
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
if you
Exactly.
look, right, if you look around the room at the people who truly love you, they would never say the things that we say to ourselves. And it's all fictitious. This narrative that we've made up, of course, it's been informed by life experience, but
Yeah.
none of it has any truth to it. And it keeps us trapped in this prison. And I think it's not a quick journey and it's not an easy one to break out of that, but you just have to kind of do it one step at a time.
Well, we're ready for tip number 3,
Tip number 3. So
navigating.
navigating. I think the most important piece is to surround yourself with the right people and cheerleaders, because sure, you can try and navigate it on your own. But why would you? Because I think one of the main purpose of this life as humans is to serve other people. So people want to help. And it comes from a wounded place where we don't want to ask for help. So I think you have to be very discerning about who you surround yourself with. And when you're about to embark on a new journey, sometimes the old people have to go, and you have to be prepared for that and okay with it. And I fully appreciate that not everybody has a strong support system. I grew up with a very supportive family. I've had beautiful friends in my life, so I know that that is a privilege, but I've also paid people to be my mentors. I've paid coaches. So it's about investing in yourself in all forms.
What would you say is the most contributing aspect to your success?
Most contributing aspect to my success. Um, I think it is, this is, Deborah's just lobbing these at me. No preparation, guys. I'm
No,
thinking
not
of my
today. We didn't.
toes. I think it is that I have always operated and continue to operate from a place that I am never done learning. I am forever seeking answers to know myself better. And I'm forever educating myself on all of the things that I could incorporate in my life to improve. And I'm not afraid to say I don't know. Like as a lawyer, I think I disarmed people, judges and lawyers sometimes when we were in the room and this problem or question would come up that I had never seen before. And the legal fields can be, I mean, there's a reason I'm not in it anymore. It can be not the most friendly and supportive place. And it's because we've created this rat race, and we're always competing with one another. It's a place of competition. So, if I didn't know something and I needed time to think about it, I would say I don't know that answer. I'm going to have to get back to you. So, I think it's that would be the thing that I think I've always consistently incorporated into my life, is being a student.
With
Yeah.
that continuous learning, I also
Yes.
sense that curiosity. And I don't know if
Yes.
it's necessarily that, being in law that curiosity is there. Is there this innate curiosity that has led you to this path where you are today?
Yeah, so it's funny because I don't think I was that curious about law, which is really interesting. What I had curiosity around and always have is people and how we move through the world and all of the things that interconnect us. So Yes, a constant curiosity uh, for learning about all of the things that I don't know about. And I think I've always been that way, and I will always seek the answers. So there's also a tenacity to it, right? I mean, sometimes I'm dumbfounded when I come across people who are just content not knowing the answers, like that sense of complacency. That's not how I am.
Almost, I know for me, sometimes I'm like, well, how do you exist? How do you
Yeah,
exist
I
without
know.
wanting to ask a question?
I mean, maybe more peacefully, to be honest, because my brain is always going.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah,
That means we would have a very long coffee date.
we would. We would.
When it comes to being a leadership catalyst,
Hmm.
and, we're seeing a lot of disruption in leadership across Canada, across the US, changes everywhere. What would be something that you would tell all leaders to start with if they were just starting in their careers
Hmm.
and really wanting to own being that leader that they see themselves to be?
Yeah, so I think what makes a great leader is somebody who understands that they are nothing without all of the people that surround them and have appreciation for everybody who contributes to where they are and really operating from a place of um, you're not better than anyone else. It doesn't matter this title that you've acquired or this title that you've given yourself. And that was something that my parents always instilled in my brother and I, that every single person you come across is as important as the next one. It doesn't matter what your title is. We are all people. We all have families. We all have struggles. And those are the best leaders. I think part of the what's part of the major conflicts that we see is that people want to hold this position of a leader, but they haven't earned it, and they've stepped on people to get there.